So you're prepping for a horticulture production team leader interview.
That's great.
We've got a ton of RoleCatcher resources that can help you totally nail it.
Absolutely.
We'll break down common interview questions and how to really make your answers stand out.
Definitely.
And we'll throw in some career insights along the way.
What's so cool about this particular role is that it combines hands-on expertise with leadership.
Oh, for sure.
It's not just about loving plants, it's about leading a team, coordinating schedules, and making sure those crops are the best they can be.
Okay, so let's jump into some of the questions you might get hit with in the interview.
That's good.
They'll definitely want to know why you chose this career path.
Yeah.
How would you tackle the question, what led you to pursue a career in horticulture production?
I think you have to go a little deeper than just saying, I love plants.
Right.
Think about a specific experience that really sparked your passion.
Yeah.
Was it a garden you had as a kid, a class you took in college, or maybe even a mentor who showed you the ropes?
Sharing a memorable story can really make your answer stand out.
Absolutely.
And since time management is so important in this job, how would you answer something like, how do you prioritize tasks and manage your time effectively?
You could talk about a time when you successfully juggled a bunch of projects.
Yeah.
Maybe it was during peak harvest season or when some crazy weather threw everything off.
Oh, yeah, I can imagine.
What strategies helped you stay on track? A to-do list, time blocking, or delegating tasks to others?
I think sharing those tactics shows you can handle pressure and keep everything running smoothly.
Exactly.
Now, since you'll be leading a team, they'll want to know about your leadership style.
Right.
How would you answer, how do you motivate and lead a team of horticulture production workers?
It's important to talk about your approach, whether you're collaborative, results-oriented, or a mix of both.
Yeah,
But you got to back it up with real examples.
of course.
Have you ever done team-building exercises to boost morale? Or celebrated successes to show your team you appreciate their hard work?
I think giving specific examples like that shows you can create a positive and productive work environment.
Definitely.
It's one thing to say you're a great leader, but it's way more powerful to show it.
I agree.
Now, since problem solving is key in this role, how would you answer? How do you ensure that the horticulture production process is efficient and effective?
I'd think about a time when you spotted an inefficiency and came up with a creative solution.
Like finding a way to reduce waste or streamline a process.
Yeah, exactly.
That's where you can show off your ability to think outside the box and solve problems effectively.
For sure.
And of course, safety is a huge deal in horticulture production.
Absolutely.
You might get asked something like, how do you ensure that the horticulture production team adheres to safety protocols and regulations?
In that case, you want to show them, about industry regulations and that you're serious about creating a safe work environment.
Right.
You could talk about things like safety training, making sure people wear protective gear, or even regular equipment checks.
Those are great examples.
Yeah, those really show you prioritize safety.
Okay, so moving on to quality control, which is another super important part of this job.
For sure.
How would you answer? How do you ensure that the horticulture production team produces high-quality products?
I'd talk about your attention to detail, the quality control systems you've used, and anything specific you've done to improve product quality in the past.
Like setting strict grading standards,
Yeah.
introducing new pest control methods, or even just fostering a quality-focused culture.
Exactly.
It's all about showing you go the extra mile to ensure those products are top-notch.
I agree.
Now, conflicts are bound to pop up on any team.
Yeah, that's true.
So how would you answer, how do you handle conflicts or challenges that arise within the horticulture production team?
It's all about showing off your conflict resolution skills.
Right.
Emphasize the importance of listening, openly communicating, and finding solutions that work for everyone.
It's like being a mediator and a problem solver all rolled into one. Sharing a specific example of how you successfully handled a conflict in the past can really drive that point home.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
And of course, the horticulture industry is always changing, so staying current is key.
Definitely.
How do you stay up to date with industry trends and best practices in horticulture production?
You can talk about professional organizations, you belong to publications, you read conferences, you attend anything that shows you're constantly learning and growing.
It's all about showing you're a lifelong learner.
Exactly.
Our last question for this round, since hitting those production targets is a major part of this role.
Okay.
How do you ensure that the horticulture production team meets production goals and targets?
I'd talk about your strategic thinking, your ability to set clear goals, and your methods for monitoring progress and keeping your team motivated.
It's about showcasing your leadership when it comes to achieving real results.
Absolutely.
Okay, we've covered a ton of interview questions, but before we dive deeper, let's talk about career paths.
Oh.
Where could this role potentially lead you in the future?
One of the great things about this role is that it's not a dead end.
Yeah, I can see that.
With experience as a horticulture production team leader, you could move up into management roles, specialize in a certain area like organo farming or greenhouse management, or even start your own business.
That's exciting. There's so many different paths you can take.
Exactly.
And speaking of getting ahead, RoleCatcher's AI can really help you prep for your interview.
It can be like having a secret weapon in your pocket.
I like that analogy.
RoleCatcher's AI tools can help you tailor your resume and cover letter to the specific job, analyze job descriptions to see what skills to emphasize, and even give you feedback on your interview answers.
Wow, it's like having a personal coach guiding you every step of the way.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've touched on some key interview questions and gotten a glimpse of those exciting career pathways.
Yeah.
Now let's take a deeper dive into a few of these questions and really refine those responses.
Sounds good.
Let's start with that first one. What led you to this career path?
Okay.
It seems simple, but it can really set the tone for the whole interview.
Absolutely. And that's where RoleCatcher's AI can be so helpful.
I thought so.
By analyzing the specific job description, it can figure out the key words and phrases the employer is looking for, so you can tweak your answer to really hit those points.
That makes sense.
So, for example, if the job description talks a lot about teamwork, you could focus on a time when you collaborated effectively to overcome a challenge in a previous horticulture role.
Oh, I see.
Or if they mention a specific type of crop or production method, you can talk about any experience you have in those areas.
Right.
Don't hold back on your passion either. Let them see how excited you are about horticulture and how eager you are to learn and grow in this field.
You want to show them you're not just looking for any job, but a place where you can really thrive.
Exactly.
All right, now let's talk about time management, which we both know is super important in a role like this.
No, it's crucial.
The interviewer wants to see that you can handle the pressure, prioritize effectively, and meet those deadlines. How would you recommend someone approach this question?
I think the STAR method is really useful here. Situation, task, action, result.
Okay, break that down for me.
You start by describing a specific situation where you had to juggle multiple tasks.
Like imagine it's peak season, and you're overseeing harvesting, planting, and quality control all at the same time.
Exactly. Can you feel the pressure?
I can already feel the pressure mounting.
Right. Then you'd explain the specific task you had to accomplish, the actions you took to prioritize your time, and the positive result you achieved.
I see.
For example, you could say, during peak harvest season, I was in charge of managing a team of 10 workers to make sure we hit our daily quotas while maintaining quality standards. To stay organized, I created a detailed schedule outlining everyone's responsibilities and deadlines. I also held daily meetings to track progress and address any issues. As a result, we met our production goals and exceeded quality expectations.
That's a perfect example.
Right?
It outlines the situation, task, action, and results so clearly.
Yeah.
And it shows you can manage a heavy workload. Okay, now let's dive into leadership, which is obviously a big part of this job.
Definitely.
Your leadership style really comes into play here.
For sure.
How would you recommend someone show off their approach?
Well, there's no one-size-fits-all approach to leadership.
Right.
Some leaders are more directive, others are more collaborative.
I see.
The key is finding a style that works for you and motivates your team effectively.
Makes sense.
When answering this question, it's good to give specific examples of how you've motivated and led teams in the past.
Can you give an example of what that might sound like?
Absolutely. You could talk about successfully launching a new initiative, mentoring a team member who was struggling, or even resolving a conflict between colleagues.
Those are great examples.
Yeah, the interviewer wants to see that you can build a strong team, inspire others, and get results.
It's all about showing you can lead by example.
Exactly.
Now let's move on to that problem-solving question.
Okay.
This is your chance to shine and show off your analytical skills.
I like it.
Horticulture production is full of challenges, from pests and diseases to unpredictable weather and equipment breakdowns.
Oh, yeah. Tell me about it.
So how would you advise someone to showcase their problem-solving prowess?
I think the PAR method can be really effective here. Problem, action, result.
Okay, walk me through that.
Start by describing a specific problem you faced in a previous horticulture role.
For example, maybe you were dealing with a high rate of plant loss because of a fungal disease.
Exactly. Then you would explain the steps you took to address the problem and the positive results you achieved.
Got it.
You could say something like, in my previous role, we were losing a lot of plants to a fungal disease. After doing some research and talking to experts, I implemented an integrated pest management program that used preventative measures, cultural controls, and targeted treatments. As a result, we were able to significantly reduce plant loss and increase our overall yield.
That's a great example. It clearly shows the problem, action, and result.
Yeah.
And it demonstrates your ability to think critically and tackle those complex issues that are bound to come up in horticulture production.
Exactly.
Now let's shift gears and focus on safety protocols and regulations.
Okay.
This is super important, and the interviewer wants to see that you take safety seriously.
Absolutely.
How would you recommend someone approach this question?
I'd talk about your knowledge of industry standards like OSHA guidelines and best practices for handling chemicals and equipment.
Right.
It's also important to discuss specific things you've done to ensure a safe work environment, like conducting safety training, implementing safety audits, and enforcing the use of personal protective equipment.
You could even mention any certifications or training you have in safety management.
Yeah, it's a great idea.
It's all about showcasing your dedication to creating a safe and healthy workplace.
Absolutely.
Okay, now let's move on to quality control.
Sounds good.
As a horticulture production team leader, ensuring high-quality products is crucial.
It's
It requires attention to detail, commitment to excellence, and effective quality control processes.
for sure.
What advice would you give someone about highlighting this aspect?
When answering this question, highlight your experience in putting quality control measures in place, such as regular inspections, grading standards, and detailed record keeping.
I see.
You could also talk about specific actions you've taken to improve product quality in the past, like introducing new growing techniques, implementing pest and disease prevention programs, or even investing in advanced quality control equipment.
It's about showing them you understand how important quality is and that you have a track record of delivering excellent results.
Exactly.
Now, conflict resolution is a key skill in any team setting, and horticulture production is no exception.
Yeah, that's true.
They'll want to know how you handle conflicts or challenges that arise within the team.
Right.
What advice would you offer for tackling this question?
Using the STAR method again can be really helpful here.
Good. So, situation, task, action, result.
Exactly. Start by describing a specific conflict you encountered in a previous horticulture role, like a disagreement over work assignments or a personality clash between team members.
It helps to really paint a picture of the situation.
For sure. Then describe your role in resolving the conflict. What approach did you take to mediate the dispute, and how did you focus on finding a fair solution? Detail the steps you took to encourage productive conversation, active listening, and guide those team members towards a resolution that worked for everyone.
I see.
And finally, describe the positive impact your intervention had on the team dynamic, communication, and overall productivity.
It's about showing them you can be a mediator, a peacemaker, and a leader who creates a collaborative and harmonious work environment.
Exactly.
Now, with the horticulture industry constantly evolving, staying up to date with the latest trends is crucial.
Absolutely.
How would you suggest someone highlight their commitment to continuous learning when answering a question about this?
This is where you can show off your dedication to professional development. Be sure to mention specific resources you use to stay informed, like professional organizations, industry publications, conferences, and even online forums.
And don't forget about any courses or certifications you've pursued to expand your knowledge and skill set.
Yeah, that's a great point. You could say something like, I'm an active member of the American Society for Horticultural Science and regularly attend their conferences and webinars to stay updated on the latest research and best practices. I also subscribe to several industry publications like Greenhouse Grower and American Vegetable Grower to keep up with current trends. Recently, I completed a certification course in organic farming to learn more about sustainable agriculture.
That's a fantastic example.
Right.
It shows you're committed to staying ahead of the curve and continuously learning new things.
Exactly.
Okay, let's tackle that final question about making sure the horticulture production team meets those all-important production goals and targets.
Okay.
This is a major responsibility for a team leader, and it takes strong leadership, effective communication, and a results-oriented mindset. What advice would you offer for approaching this question?
I'd recommend highlighting your experience in setting and achieving production goals.
Okay.
Talk about your process for developing production plans, setting clear targets, and motivating your team to achieve those goals.
It's all about showcasing those leadership skills in action.
Precisely.
Hmm.
You could also mention specific tools or techniques you use to track progress and measure success, like data analytics, performance metrics, and regular team meetings.
I like that.
You could say, in my previous role, I was responsible for creating and implementing a production plan that would boost our yield by 15% while cutting operating costs by 10%. To make this happen, I worked closely with my team to set clear targets, establish performance metrics, and use a data-driven approach to track progress. We also put a new incentive program in place that rewarded team members for meeting and exceeding their targets. Because of our teamwork, we achieved our production goals while improving morale and efficiency.
That's a great example.
It really shows how you can set ambitious goals, motivate your team, and achieve impressive results.
All right, we've covered a ton of ground with those interview questions.
We have.
But let's take a step back and look at the big picture.
Okay.
What are some key takeaways from these interview questions?
I think the biggest takeaway is that the interviewer is looking for someone who is truly passionate about horticulture and has a solid understanding of the industry.
That makes sense.
They want someone who's a proven leader with experience managing teams, solving problems, and ensuring both quality and safety.
They're basically looking for someone who can hit the ground running and lead their team to success.
Exactly. And don't forget, it's crucial to clearly and concisely explain your skills and experience.
Right.
Use those real-world examples to really show off your abilities and make a lasting impression.
Those examples bring your skills to life and show them what you can really do.
Absolutely. And remember to highlight your commitment to constantly learning and improving.
Right, because the horticulture industry is always changing.
Exactly. So you need to show them that you're eager to stay ahead of the curve and embrace new knowledge and advancements.
It's about showing them you're not content with just knowing what you know, but that you're driven to learn and grow.
I agree.
Now let's talk again about how RoleCatcher's AI can give you that extra edge in preparing for your interview.
Sounds good.
It's like having a personal interview coach right there in your pocket.
Exactly. RoleCatcher's AI tools can analyze those job descriptions to pick out keywords and phrases the employer is looking for.
That's so helpful.
You can then tailor your resume, cover letter, and interview answers to highlight those specific skills and experiences, making sure you're really hitting the mark.
It's like having a secret weapon to help you stand out.
Absolutely. And RoleCatcher's AI can even give you feedback on your interview answers, helping you see where you can improve and fine-tune your responses.
That's incredibly valuable.
Especially if you're feeling a bit nervous about the interview process.
Definitely.
With RoleCatcher's AI, you can walk into that interview feeling confident and ready, knowing you've done everything you can to increase your chances of success.
It's all about having that extra boost of confidence.
Exactly. So if you're getting ready for a horticulture production team leader interview, check out RoleCatcher's AI tools.
Great advice.
They can really help you land your dream job.
Okay, now let's dive into some career insights for aspiring horticulture production team leaders.
All right.
What are some essential skills and qualities you need to thrive in this role?
First and foremost, you need a solid foundation in horticulture.
Makes sense.
This means having a deep understanding of plant science, soil science, pest and disease management, and irrigation techniques.
It's all about having that strong base of knowledge to build upon.
Exactly. You also need excellent leadership and communication skills.
Right, because you'll be managing a team.
Exactly. As a team leader, you'll be motivating and inspiring your team, delegating tasks effectively, and providing clear instructions.
It's about being a leader who can guide and support your team and make sure everyone is working towards the same goal.
Precisely. And of course, you have to be a problem solver.
Of course, horticulture production is full of challenges.
It definitely is. So you need to be able to think critically, analyze situations, and come up with creative solutions.
It's about thinking on your feet and finding ways to keep everything running smoothly.
Exactly. And don't underestimate the importance of organizational skills and time management.
Oh yeah, you'll be juggling a lot.
You'll be handling multiple tasks and deadlines, so being able to prioritize and stay organized is key.
It's like keeping all those plates spinning without letting any of them crash.
Precisely. And let's not forget attention to detail.
Right.
Quality control is crucial, so you need a sharp eye and a commitment to excellence.
You have to go above and beyond to make sure those products meet the highest standards.
Exactly.
Those are all great points. Now let's talk about potential career paths for horticulture production team leaders.
Okay.
Where can this role take you?
The possibilities are endless.
I love that.
With experience, you could move up to become a horticulture production manager or even a farm manager.
That's awesome.
You could also specialize in a specific area of horticulture production, like organic farming, greenhouse management, or hydroponics.
Wow. So many options.
And some horticulture production team leaders even go on to start their own businesses.
That's incredible.
The opportunities are really out there.
Okay, so we've seen all the different paths you can take.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about tips for advancing your career in horticulture production.
Sounds good.
It's all about continuous growth and development.
Absolutely. First, stay up to date with industry trends.
How do you recommend doing that?
Attend conferences, read industry publications, and network with other professionals.
Those are all great ideas.
You should also pursue continuing education opportunities like certification programs or even a higher degree.
I see.
It's about staying ahead of the curve and always seeking new knowledge and skills.
And don't be afraid to take on new challenges.
Definitely.
Volunteer for leadership roles. Look for chances to learn new things and be proactive in your career development.
Exactly. It's all about stepping out of your comfort zone and embracing those opportunities for growth.
I love that.
It's how you learn and develop.
Now, as we wrap up this part of our deep dive,
Okay.
what's one piece of advice you would give someone considering a career as a horticulture production team leader?
I would say go for it.
I like that.
It's a challenging but incredibly rewarding career.
I can imagine.
You get to work outdoors, be hands-on with plants, and make a real difference in the world.
It's a career where you can combine your passion for horticulture with your leadership skills and have a positive impact.
Exactly.
And remember, with RoleCatcher's AI tools, you can prep for that interview with confidence and land your dream job.
So what are you waiting for? Get out there and start growing your career in horticulture production.
That's it for part 1 of our deep dive into the horticulture production team leader interview.
Yeah.
We've covered a lot, but there's still more to explore.
Definitely.
In part 2, we'll tackle some tougher interview questions and share more advanced strategies for crafting those perfect answers.
I'm looking forward to it.
So stay tuned. We'll be back soon for part 2 of our deep dive.
Great. Welcome back to our deep dive into the horticulture production team leader interview. We're going to tackle some of those tougher questions you might face. You know, the ones that make you think on your feet.
Those are the ones that can really catch you off guard.
Exactly, but don't worry, we're here to help you handle them like a pro.
Like it.
Even though these questions might seem unexpected, they're designed to see how you think critically solve problems and deal with tough situations.
It's all about showing them you can handle the pressure.
Exactly. So let's jump right in. One question you might get is, describe a time you had to make a difficult decision in a horticulture production setting. How did you approach the situation?
Oh, that's a tough one.
It's a classic behavioral interview question. They want to see your decision-making skills, how you think under pressure, and your leadership qualities.
It's your chance to show off your problem-solving skills and your dedication to getting the best results.
Absolutely. When you answer this one, remember to use the STAR method.
Right. Situation, task, action, result.
You got it. Start by setting the scene. Describe the specific situation, the challenge you faced, and why the decision was so difficult.
So paint a clear picture for them.
Exactly. Then explain the task you had to accomplish, which was making that decision.
Right.
Next detail, the actions you took. How did you gather information, weigh the options, and ultimately make that informed decision?
It's about showing your thought process, how you approach those tough problems.
And finally, describe the outcome, emphasizing the positive impact it had.
So what would a good answer sound like?
Here's an example. You could say, in my last role as assistant production manager, we had a sudden pest outbreak that threatened our entire tomato crop.
Oh, wow, that's a nightmare.
I had to make a tough call, use a chemical pesticide, which is effective, but could harm beneficial insects in the environment.
I see the dilemma.
Or try a more sustainable approach that might not be as effective, but would be better for the environment.
Tough choice.
To make the right decision, I talked to experts, researched different pest control methods, and weighed the pros and cons of each option.
That's smart.
In the end, I went with an integrated pest management program that combined cultural controls, biological controls, and targeted applications of a low-toxicity pesticide.
So you found a balance.
Exactly.
Oh.
We managed to control the outbreak with minimal environmental impact and kept our crops healthy.
That's a win-win.
It was. And that's what you want to show the interviewer, that you can think things through, make those tough calls, and still get great results.
Okay, so let's move on to another tricky question. Tell me about a time you had to deal with a conflict between two team members. How did you handle the situation?
Conflict resolution, every leader's favorite.
Right. But it's a crucial skill, especially in a team-oriented environment like horticulture production.
Absolutely. This question is all about seeing how you approach conflict, your mediation skills, and your leadership style in those interpersonal situations.
It's about showing them you can be the peacemaker and guide your team towards a more harmonious and productive working relationship.
Exactly. And once again, the STAR method is your friend here.
So start with the situation.
Right. Describe the specific conflict, outline each person's perspective, and why it was such a challenge.
So set the stage and help them understand the dynamics.
Then explain your role in resolving it, focusing on how you mediated and aimed for a fair solution.
Okay.
Detail the steps you took to facilitate a productive conversation, encouraged active listening, and help them find a resolution that worked for both of them.
It's about creating that safe space for open communication and guiding them towards a positive outcome.
Exactly. And don't forget to describe the result of your intervention, emphasizing the positive impact on team dynamics, communication, and overall productivity.
Show them those tangible benefits of your conflict resolution skills.
Right. Here's an example you could say. In my previous role as production supervisor, two team members were clashing over work assignments.
That's pretty common.
It is one felt they were always getting the harder, more time-consuming tasks, while the other felt their skills weren't being fully utilized.
I can see how that would cause friction.
Definitely. So I met with each of them individually to hear their concerns and understand their perspectives.
That's a good first step.
Then I brought them together for a group meeting where they could talk openly and respectfully.
Creating that space for dialogue.
Exactly. Through guided discussion and collaborative problem solving, we came up with a compromise that ensured a more balanced workload, taking into account each person's skills and preferences.
So everyone felt heard and valued.
Right. The conflict was resolved, communication improved, productivity went up, and we had a more positive and supportive work environment.
That's a great example of turning a negative situation into a positive outcome.
Absolutely. Now let's tackle a question that can really throw people off. What are your greatest weaknesses as a horticulture production team leader?
Oh, that one feels like a trap.
I know, right? But remember, they're not looking for perfection. Everyone has areas they can improve on.
They want to see self-awareness, honesty, and a willingness to learn and grow.
Exactly. The trick is to choose a weakness that's genuine, but not something that will prevent you from doing the job well.
Right, and then focus on what you're doing to address it and improve.
Turn that weakness into an opportunity for growth.
So what's a good example?
You could say one of my weaknesses is that I can get so caught up in the details that I sometimes lose sight of the bigger picture.
I think a lot of people can relate to that.
Definitely to work on this. I've been delegating tasks more effectively, getting input from my team, and focusing on improving my strategic thinking skills.
That's smart.
I've also taken some workshops on leadership and management to broaden my perspective on the horticulture industry.
That's a great way to show them you're proactive and committed to self-improvement.
Exactly. Now let's shift gears and look at a question that tests your industry knowledge. What are some of the biggest challenges facing the horticulture industry today, and how do you see those challenges impacting the role of a horticulture production team leader?
This one's all about showing you're not just focused on the day-to-day tasks, but that you understand the bigger picture.
Exactly. To nail this question, you need to stay informed about industry news, research, and new technologies.
So do your homework.
Definitely consider things like climate change, consumer demand, labor shortages, and the growing importance of sustainability.
Those are all huge factors shaping the future of horticulture.
They are, you could say something like, one of the biggest challenges facing our industry is the pressure to produce more food with fewer resources.
That's a tough one.
It is climate change is leading to more extreme weather, which can damage crops and lower yields.
That's a real problem.
At the same time, people want more fresh local produce, and there's a shortage of skilled workers in agriculture.
It's a complex issue.
All of these challenges mean that horticulture production team leaders need to be even more innovative and efficient.
They need to adapt.
Exactly. They need to adjust to changing conditions, use sustainable practices, and find ways to attract and retain skilled workers.
It's about being proactive and finding solutions.
They also need to use technology to improve efficiency, reduce waste, and boost yields.
Technology is playing a bigger and bigger role in horticulture.
It is, and that's why it's so important to stay up to date.
Okay, now let's talk about another important leadership skill. Describe your approach to delegating tasks to your team members. How do you ensure that tasks are completed effectively and efficiently?
Delegation is key to being a great leader.
It's about empowering your team, distributing work effectively, and fostering a sense of ownership and accountability.
You got it when you answer this question. Highlight your ability to assess your team members' skills and strengths, match tasks to their abilities, and give clear instructions and support.
You're setting them up for success.
Exactly. Emphasize open communication, regular check-ins, and creating a collaborative environment where people feel comfortable asking questions and seeking guidance.
It's all about creating that supportive and transparent workplace.
You could say something like, when I delegate, I start by figuring out each team member's skills and experience to make sure the tasks are a good fit. I give clear instructions outlining the goals, deadlines, and any specific requirements.
So everyone knows what they're doing.
Exactly, and I encourage them to ask questions and get clarification.
That's important.
I also check in regularly to monitor progress and offer support and address any challenges.
It's about being present and involved.
I believe in empowering my team members and encouraging them to take ownership and be accountable.
So you're giving them the freedom to shine.
Exactly. I encourage them to take initiative, solve problems, and make decisions within their roles.
That's a great leadership approach.
Now let's look at a question that tests your problem-solving skills in a specific situation. Imagine you've noticed a decline in the quality of the produce being harvested. How would you approach this problem and identify the root cause?
This one requires you to think on your feet.
It does. You need to use your analytical skills, your knowledge of horticulture, and demonstrate how you troubleshoot effectively.
It's about showing them you have a system for problem solving.
Exactly. Start by outlining a systematic approach. First, you gather data, observe the affected crops, and review production records to spot any patterns or weird things.
So you're emphasizing that data-driven approach and attention to detail.
Right. Consider factors like pests, diseases, nutrient deficiencies, irrigation problems, or environmental stresses.
It's about exploring all the possibilities.
Exactly. Conduct thorough inspections, talk to experts if needed, and analyze the data to pinpoint the root cause.
So don't be afraid to ask for help.
Definitely. Here's an example. If I noticed a drop in produce quality, I'd start by gathering as much information as possible.
Okay.
I'd check the affected crops for signs of pests, diseases, or nutrient problems.
You're playing detective.
I'd also review things like planting dates, fertilization schedules, and irrigation logs looking for anything unusual.
Like a pattern or a sudden change.
Exactly. If needed, I'd reach out to experts like an agronomist or a plant pathologist.
Get that expert opinion.
Once I had enough information, I'd analyze it to figure out the most likely cause. For example, if I found pest damage, I'd investigate that specific pest and put control measures in place.
Taking action.
If I thought it was a nutrient deficiency, I'd test the soil and adjust the fertilization.
That's smart.
By taking this step-by-step approach, I could identify the problem and find solutions to improve the quality.
Okay, so now let's talk about safety. A big one in any industry, but especially in horticulture.
For sure, they might ask you something like, describe your approach to making sure your team members are following safety rules and procedures. How do you promote a culture of safety in the workplace?
This question really shows how much you care about safety and creating a healthy work environment.
Absolutely. To answer this well, highlight your dedication to safety and your knowledge of regulations and best practices.
Show them you're proactive and that your team's well-being is your top priority.
Exactly. Emphasize things like providing thorough safety training, conducting regular safety audits, and enforcing the use of protective equipment.
It's about going beyond just rules and creating a workplace where everyone values safety.
Exactly. You could say something like, safety is my #1 priority as a horticulture production team leader.
I like that.
I believe that everyone deserves to go home safe at the end of the day.
Soon.
To make sure my team is following safety protocols, I provide comprehensive training on things like hazard identification, operating equipment, safely handling chemicals, and what to do in emergencies.
You're covering all the bases.
I also do regular safety audits to find and fix potential hazards.
That's proactive.
And I make sure everyone uses the right protective gear like gloves, safety glasses, and hearing protection.
Safety first.
I hold everyone accountable for following the rules and to promote a culture of safety. I encourage open communication and feedback.
So people feel comfortable speaking up.
Exactly. I want them to feel safe reporting hazards, near misses, and any concerns they have.
That's important.
I also recognize and reward safe work practices to encourage positive behavior.
That's a great way to reinforce good habits.
By creating a culture of safety and putting my team's well-being first, I aim to prevent accidents and create a safe and productive workplace.
That's a great answer. It
Yeah.
really shows you understand safety and how to create that positive environment.
Now let's wrap up this part of our deep dive with a final question. How do you recognize and reward your team members for their hard work and contributions? How do you create a positive and motivating work environment?
This question is all about your leadership style and how you appreciate your team.
Exactly. When you answer this one, highlight your approach to positive reinforcement.
Okay.
Talk about using verbal praise, public recognition, and tangible rewards to acknowledge great performance.
This is showing your appreciation in different ways.
Exactly. Explain how you create that supportive and motivating work environment by fostering open communication, providing opportunities for professional development, celebrating successes, and building a sense of community.
It's about making people feel valued and motivated.
You could say something like, I believe in recognizing and rewarding my team for their hard work.
I like that.
I make an effort to give regular praise, acknowledging their efforts and achievements.
It's important to acknowledge those wins.
It is. I also use public recognition to celebrate successes and highlight individual and team accomplishments.
So making them feel appreciated.
In addition to praise and recognition, I believe in giving tangible rewards like bonuses, gift certificates, or chances for professional development.
Those are great incentives.
To create a positive work environment, I encourage open communication and feedback.
So everyone feels heard.
Exactly. I want them to share their ideas, concerns, and suggestions.
That's a great way to build trust.
I also provide opportunities for professional development, like training courses, workshops, and conferences to help them grow their skills.
Investing in their growth.
And I believe in celebrating both big and small successes to create a sense of teamwork and boost morale.
That's important.
I also try to create a sense of community by organizing social events and team-building activities.
So it's not all work and no play.
Right. By fostering a supportive and motivating work environment, I want to create a team that's engaged, productive, and committed to reaching our goals.
Those are all great points. So we've covered some of those tougher, intricate questions you might face for the horticulture production team leader role.
We have.
Remember, use the STAR method to structure your answers, highlight your skills and experience, and let your passion for horticulture shine through.
That's great advice.
And don't forget to check out RoleCatcher's AI tools to help you prepare.
They can really give you an edge.
Let's recap some key takeaways from this part of our deep dive.
Okay.
We talked about how to handle those challenging behavioral questions, giving specific examples, and showing off your problem-solving leadership and conflict resolution skills.
We did.
We also highlighted how important it is to stay informed about industry trends and challenges, showing your commitment to safety and creating a positive and motivating work environment for your team.
Those are all crucial elements.
Remember, preparation is key. The more you practice and think critically about the skills they're looking for, the more confident you'll feel going into that interview.
Absolutely.
And don't be afraid to let your passion for horticulture shine through. It can really make a difference.
I agree.
When we come back for part 3, we'll share some final tips to help you make a great impression and ace that interview. Welcome back to the final part of our deep dive into the horticulture production team leader interview. We've talked about common questions, tricky questions. Now it's time to polish those answers and make sure you're ready to really impress.
Preparation is key, but it's not just about what you know. It's about how you present yourself, your enthusiasm, your ability to connect with the interviewer.
Making a great first impression, showing your personality and passion. So where do we start with these final tips?
Let's go over some general best practices. Research the company beforehand, their values, their approach to horticulture production.
Yeah.
Really understand that job description and think about how your skills and experience match up. It's like studying for an exam.
Yeah.
The more you know, the more confident you'll feel.
I like that. And speaking of preparation practice, makes perfect right.
Absolutely. Rehearse your answers to common interview questions you can practice with a friend, a mentor, even in front of a mirror.
RoleCatcher's AI can be super helpful here, giving feedback on your delivery and content.
It's a great tool, and remember, it's okay to think out loud during the interview.
Oh, yeah.
The interviewer wants to see your thought process, how you problem solve, how you explain your ideas.
It's like showing them how your mind works.
Exactly. Now let's focus on some tips specific to the horticulture production team leader. Role leadership is key. So how can someone really showcase those leadership qualities?
That's a good question.
Use examples from your past to show how you've motivated teams, delegated, effectively achieved real results. Highlight your communication skills, your ability to build relationships, your commitment to a positive and productive work environment.
It's about painting a picture of yourself as that inspiring leader.
Exactly. And don't forget to let your passion for horticulture shine through.
Right. Let them see your enthusiasm.
Show them your knowledge of the industry, your desire to learn and grow.
That passion is contagious.
It is. Now, let's talk about what not to do during the interview. What are some things to avoid?
Okay, good point.
Definitely avoid saying anything negative about past employers or colleagues. It's unprofessional.
Right, it makes you look bad.
Also, avoid vague or generic answers. Be specific, provide details, use real-world examples.
So back up your claims.
Exactly, and don't be afraid to ask questions.
Well, that's a good one.
It shows you're engaged, curious, thinking critically.
Asking thoughtful questions can really make a difference.
It shows you're interested.
So how do you recommend approaching that?
Have a few good questions ready beforehand, but be prepared to ask follow-up questions based on the conversation.
So be ready to improvise a little.
Exactly. It shows you're listening and genuinely interested in the role and the company.
Okay, now let's talk about making a lasting impression. What are some ways to stay top of mind after the interview is over?
One way is to send a thank you note afterward.
That's a classic.
It's a simple gesture that shows appreciation for their time.
It's polite, and it keeps you on their radar.
You can use it to reiterate your interest in the position and highlight a key point from your conversation.
So keep it brief, but impactful.
And lastly, remember, an interview is a two-way street.
Oh, that's a good point.
It's not just them evaluating you, you're evaluating them too.
You're both trying to find the right fit.
Exactly. Ask yourself, is this a company I want to work for? Is this a team I want to be a part of? Does this role align with my goals?
Those are important questions.
If the answer is yes, then go for it.
It sounds like we've covered all the essential tips for acing that interview.
I think we have. Remember, preparation, practice, and a bit of confidence can take you a long way.
And don't forget about RoleCatcher's AI tools. They can help you refine your resume cover letter and interview answers.
They can give you that extra edge.
So as you start your journey as a horticulture production team leader, remember that continuous learning is essential.
Absolutely.
Stay curious, stay engaged, never stop growing.
The world of horticulture is full of amazing possibilities.
It's been great guiding you through this interview prep journey. We wish you the best of luck in your job search and all your future endeavors in the world of horticulture.
Good luck, and remember you got this.
That's it for our deep dive into the Horticulture Production Team Leader interview. We hope you found it helpful and informative. Until next time, happy growing.